Hi everyone, I'm Tech Bob and welcome to eTech Facebook Live Fridays. Today, as mentioned in the title of our stream, I'm going to be reviewing the Z1 laser machine. I'm going to be going through the setup of the machine, both hardware and software. I'm going to go through calibrating the machine, which is sometimes needed when you get a new machine. I'm going to go through actually using the machine to burn the back of a phone, so go through the back glass replacement process. Kind of sped up version just because we didn't want to make this 30 minutes long. I'm going to try to keep it as short and concise as possible. And then I have a couple examples of some laser engraving stuff I'm going to show to you towards the end. And just I'm going to answer any other questions that we frequently get from either people that are buying a laser from or that bought a laser from us or are interested in it. So I'm going to try to cover all that today as much as possible. And if I don't answer anything in particular as I'm going through this, comment on our live stream right now. I actually have Omar helping me today with reviewing comments. I don't miss anything, and I'll try to address it as quickly as I can through the live stream. So to kick this thing off, also you have this camera in the way. You'll see what it's for when I switch to the next screen. But for the physical setup, I needed kind of a backed out version because this machine it's a little bit bigger sideways. But you get the machine like this out of the box. It has some it's like shrink wrap wrapped around it just to keep everything stable, but pretty easy to get in the use state. So you grab this end right here, you fold it up, you have a metal arm down here that you grab, comes out and hooks in right here on the base. Once that's hooked in, just slide the machine over a little bit, you're then going to lower the front end of the head down. You have this other arm that comes out right here, and it's going to go in this back end. And you wait for it to click in there. There's a little spring-loaded mechanism. You do want to make sure that this goes in all the way so it doesn't come loose. Let's see. You have to fight it a little bit. There we go. Stuck. Out. Forward. There we go. Once you hear that click, you can tighten these screws just to make sure it doesn't release on you. And then the final thing is you have these safety arms on the side. Go ahead and put those down and tighten the screws. One on this other side too. So I'm going to turn the machine. See it a little better. There we go. Front facing. Try not to get in the way of the camera. If you're watching us on YouTube, there might be some technical difficulty. It looks like it's streaming, but the video might be behind. So if you are on YouTube, jump over to our Facebook stream. That looks like it's going well. Right, Omar, everything good there? Okay. This one's just stuck. If your arm does get stuck, you can use something like a spudger to get in there and pop it down. Weird. Almost got it. These arms by default are a little bit tight because it is kind of a safety to make sure nothing happens to the machine. This one's a little bit stuck. There we go. Got that one down. So once those arms are there, at this point, you just have some cables that plug in. So power cable in the back of the machine. And then you have the USB cable over here on the side. Now, one thing your machine comes with that I've asked the manufacturer about because it was a little bit kind of questionable once we got it in the thing. It looks kind of like a flash drive. What they called this was a signal amplifier. So it helps the machine kind of get the signal to and from the computer. I asked if it's needed. They said it wasn't required. So I would say put it in there because it comes with the machine. If this seems to be causing issues, unplug it and you should be fine too. I'm actually using the machine today without the signal amplifier, so we should be fine. But as far as physical setup goes, that is pretty much it. Only additional thing, this is a fun one. There is a lens cap that comes on the machine, so make sure to take that off before you start going with it, because if not, you might end up with, you try to burn or red light, you're not going to see anything. So definitely don't want that. As far as turning on the machine, power button is back here. You just flip it, you hear the fan come on, and then another thing that typically gets asked is the machine always on? So the way it works, there's a power supply for the whole machine, and then there's a USB board on the side that when it's connected to the computer, the power from the computer will actually turn the machine on to some degree. So if you want the machine to be fully powered off, power button needs to be off, and then you need to unplug the USB cable. It goes in the machine, you should be good to go. But as far as setup, that's it on this side. One thing I do like to mention, we took this bracket off. Oh, sorry, it's a little hot here. We took this bracket off. It's used to help align your phone when you're doing a back glass, kind of help keep it square. We found that we use the red light more for alignment than anything, so we took it off. Also, when you're like laser engraving some bigger things, this tends to get in the way. So that's why the machine does come with some Allen wrenches, this right here, so you can take off and adjust this or do whatever you need to get it squared. So you can use it or you don't have to use it. Either way works fine. So that being said, that's the physical setup of the machine. Let me jump right into, let's go to the software setup. So right now, let's try not to be in the way for the background, but we're going to focus on my screen right here. So as far as the software goes, the packet that you get when you purchase a laser from us, it has the link on here, but it's imt.sjtmt.com. This is the software you're going to want to download. There's been different versions of it. You want to make sure you have the most up-to-date one, just so it has all the releases with the configurations and templates and everything. You can upload that or update that on the machine, which I'll show too, but this is where you download the software. So as far as software setup, I already have it installed on here just to speed up the time, but once you install it, you're going to have two things. You're going to have the Triangel laser software. Mine was in Chinese. I just renamed it to English so I could identify it easier. And then you have this right here, which when you're installing it, it's called the Cypress USB driver installer. That's basically what installs a driver for the machine. Tip here, most of this software has some Chinese involved with it. I don't know about everyone on the stream, but I'm not the most fluent in Chinese. So what I would recommend doing is downloading Google Translate on your phone and then using the camera option where you can scan something. That's been a big help for a lot of the things that I look at that have Chinese on it. It's not always the best translation, but there's a difference in uninstall and install, and you don't want to click the wrong one, so using Google Translate definitely helps. So the machine, to get the software side open, I'm going to double click that and open it up. Takes a second. Another tip here, make sure that your machine is plugged in before you open the software. The way it works is if the software opens and it doesn't detect the machine, you'll get an error that says driver not found or trial board not found, something like that, but basically it won't register the machine. So this is the Triangel software for running the machine. I'm going to go over a couple quick areas before I go into calibration. Here's where we select all the models for phones that we want to either do the screen or the back glass on. And I'll go over what I mean by screen a little bit. And then we have download and update here. So update, when a new template comes out for a new phone, we've gotten asked, how do I get the new templates? This button right here. Hitting update will get you the most recent templates that are released by Triangel. I've seen some people try to find these templates other places, and you can even make your own technically, but it's always best to use the one designed by the manufacturer, or at least a verified one. I wouldn't go testing a experimental template on a customer phone because it may hit places with the laser you don't want it to, and that would be bad for the phone and obviously you, because you'd have to probably replace it by it. So that being said, I'm going to jump straight into calibration. So the way this works is we're going to just draw a rectangle or a square, and if you look at the laser side of the stream, so back here, this bottom corner, can't see where I'm pointing on my monitor, but you see that red light there? The goal with the calibration is to make sure that wherever the red light is actually where it's burning. So the machine comes with these sheets of black paper that are used to kind of help with this process. So you just lay a piece of paper here. You do want to hit the autofocus button on top of the machine, because what the focus does is make sure that you're telling the laser how high the surface that it's lasering is. If it's off, it could affect the power of the laser or the effectiveness of it, so make sure you're always focusing. So That being said, going to it looks like there's a square here. That is not me. I think that's the camera. 1 second. One second. Let me try to get this square out. Sorry about that. Looks like that square is going to be there as a focus on the camera, but I'm going to go through the process anyways to show everyone. So what I'm going to do now is hit mark. You see here it burned a rectangle, which I'm going to see if I can zoom in a little bit. Yeah, we're going to see that. Focus. There we go. So everyone can see that little rectangle burn. I'm going to hit red light now. And what you're going to notice, it's hard to see on here because it's burning, but from what I can see here, the red light outline is shifted to the right. So it's very important to get these two 100% aligned before you start doing phones, because what this would do is, if I had a phone under there, the red light would tell me everything's good to go, but then I would burn it and everything would be burned over to the left, which would be bad. So I actually purposely uncalibrated this machine just to show everyone this process. So I'm going to hit stop here. I'm going to then click on the config button up here, hit red light here, and then the two buttons you're messing with are going to be the X and Y offset. So basically, you mess with the X offset if it's shifted to the left or right, and then you mess with the Y offset if it's shifted up or down. So based on the way mine looks right now, it's only my X that's off, so I'm not going to touch Y. So what I'm going to do is take that down to 0, which is what it was to begin with. These values are completely arbitrary to the machine itself. What I've noticed is when I take the machine and move it from computer to computer, those values seem to differ. So I'd recommend whatever PC you use to set up the laser on, stick with that one. Don't switch it around because you're going to be messing with these values all day. But with that being said, if I hit red light preview now and I look over here, my red light, if you can see it on the camera, don't know if you can, is directly on top of my rectangle. So that is good calibration. That would make sure that whatever I see outline-wise is going to burn exactly where I tell it to when I burn a phone. So that's it for calibration. Any questions come through, Omar? So good? Yeah. All right, cool. Just making sure. And it's stop there and then OK to save those values. So now I'm going to just close this file because we're done with calibration. And by the way, you don't have to do this calibration once unless you switch computers. Then make sure it's still good to go. I'm going to actually do a phone. So I have just some practice phones over to the side. This is a, this camera's probably better to see it. This is an iPhone XR, just a dead phone that we had lying around. It's gutted from the inside, so I'm going to use just this frame. I'm going to take this off. First step is to focus it. So I'm going to hit focus, or autofocus. And the cool thing about the Z1 versus the older fiber lasers is the focus is optical. So it does it a lot faster. Not that the old one took that long, but it's just a couple more seconds or 30 seconds that you can save versus the standard M Triangle, the MG1S, which is the original version of this. So what I'm going to do now is find my phone. Just try to get out of the way too. So I have an iPhone, the model. I have a 10R that I'm burning. So 10R, back cover cutout. Load. There we go. So, template-wise, before I actually run this machine, I want to talk about, does everyone see these openings in the template? So these white areas? This is the template version you want to use for whatever model you're doing. There are some templates where you don't have these white cutouts. I'm assuming those were put in there just if you're, say, taking the back glass off of a frame that has no guts in it, no board, no charging port, nothing that could get damaged, you can use that. But if you're doing a back glass replacement, as many people do, without taking the phone apart, which is definitely the recommended way because it saves you a lot more time and there's minimal issues if you do everything correctly. This template right here is what protects your danger areas. So down here, the charging port, which is probably one of the #1 reasons you'll see a boot loop issue or power issues after repair. The wireless charging coil and the battery area, you don't want it hitting that. This is an exposed portion of the board. Same thing over here, you have your camera and just other places that you don't want the laser to hit. Super important to use that correct template. So to actually do the red light here, what I'm going to do is just drag and highlight over, you see how now it's selected? If I had not done that and just hit red light, actually, it's doing something. It's just doing a square right now, which is not what I want. I want it to do the whole thing. Hit red light. It's actually a good example too. So if this is showing up here, that's just a square. To get the actual outline of the template, you gotta click this button right here. Make sure it's still showing. Yep. Red light outline. Hit red light. And now you'll see over here that it's actually running through the entire template so you can see it a little better. Which looks like it is there. So I'm going to hit stop now. And settings wise, I did want to talk about this before I burn it. So by default, each of these templates has their own settings. This is what we use for all of ours. 7500 for the speed and 100 for power. You'll see all kinds of settings out there recommended by different people, and I would say there is no right and wrong, but everyone has their settings that work for them, which is the best way to put it. This is what we recommend based on our success with doing the hundreds of back glasses we've done. But if you want to mess around with these numbers, go for it. Now, one thing I will say, if after you run the laser, you're having difficulty with getting the back glass off, there's a couple things you can do. You can either lower the speed, which would then allow the laser to spend more time in each area, effectively burning it more, or you would just run the laser again, basically passing over it one more time. But one of those two things should cover that. But now those settings are set, I'm gonna hit red light, and I noticed that it looks like my template is a little bit off. It looks like maybe there's something up with my focus. If that ever happens, I'm gonna fix this manually by hitting rise. So when you hit rise, the template's going to basically spread out. So it's going to get to my edges. And as far as alignment here, the best thing we recommend is doing your corners first. And just working one at a time. Trying to go through as quickly as I can just so the stream is not super long, but that's gonna look like it's okay. It's close. I would, if this was an actual phone that I was doing the back glass on, I would spend more time with alignment because unfortunately, once you hit burn, there is no unburn or going back. You're there. So make sure alignment is 100% met, mainly for the edges of the frame so you don't burn that, and also the camera area. Now, what I recommend is covering, at least for your first couple, the camera lens with something like this. This is aluminum, I think it's referred to as ducting tape, so it's used for like HVAC, AC systems, like the ducts that run in buildings. You can use that, painter's tape, what else? Someone said Play-Doh in one of the laser groups, a little piece of cardboard. There's different options, but basically you're covering that lens, so one, you don't hit the camera, but two, you don't hit the paint around the edge of the bezel. Because if you hit that, there's a chance that the paint's going to come off and it's not going to look the best when you do the back glass repair. So we're going to say our alignment is good there. I'm going to hit stop. And one more thing I'm going to talk about before I actually run it is you can't see the fume extractor. It's slightly out of the frame. I'm trying to think of the best way to do this. So I'll pick it up and see how far the cable can go. This thing's a little bit heavy, but right there is our fume extractor. This model is by TBK. We sell this as well as obviously the laser on the website. If you're doing laser engraving, I would say that you don't need an extractor, but when you're doing a phone, because of the paint and glue that you're burning, it definitely helps to use an extractor. So cool thing about this one, it just fits over your area where you're going to be burning. The laser goes through the plexiglass, so you don't have to worry about it being in the way. We're going to turn it on. I'm going to turn it on fairly low because when you turn it all the way, just as a sample, it sounds kind of like a jet engine. You can still hear me. So I'm going to turn that down. That's barely on right now. And then I'm going to hit mark on my laser machine. If you look at the camera down here, bottom left corner, it's actually going through the burn process. Uh-oh. Trying not to hit some cables. Let me see if I can get that a little bit better in frame. Yeah, so basically right now what it's doing is it's burning the template that we told it to with the machine across the entire phone. And that's why, as I mentioned earlier, once you start this, you can't stop it. So you want to make sure your alignment with the red light, one, you calibrated it correctly, and two, when you were lining it up right now, just making sure that the red light was where it needed to be. That was exact. This is a fume extractor still on low. But with any laser you use, whether it be an M triangle fiber laser or a forward blue laser, you're going to get some type of smell from the just burnt glass, paint, glue. You're going to need something to extract that. This right here is probably on the high end. These are $300 to $400, around that range. They make smaller versions. We sell one by tool that's a desktop version. That's good too. If you're in a well-ventilated area, you may not need one, but if you're cranking these backglasses out all day, and you're in a smaller area, you're going to get that fume smell, and it's going to get pretty strong. So I would recommend getting something to kind of extract the fumes here. But I'm going to let it, see, it's probably almost done. I'm going to stop it, we're getting towards we're past the 20-minute mark. Try to speed up the rest of the day, but I'm going to take my extractor box off. I'm going to take a look at my phone so we can show the camera well. You see right here, I have a phone that's basically been through the whole laser process, almost. And you see where it burned. I'm going to take some of the back glass off just as a quick demo. Grab a mat, clean this up. This is a pretty dirty process, by the way, so you do want to have some cleanup stuff. We use a flat X-Acto blade to get our glass off. You'll see it comes off fairly easy. And as the laser was careful with certain areas in the phone, like the charging port in the center, you want to also be careful with that when you're using your blade, because you don't want to be the reason the phone stops working. What we find in most cases is that the laser doesn't cause the damage, but this does, or whatever tool you're using to remove the glass. So one of the things we recommend when doing a back glass repair, run the laser on the phone. You should have tested it as an intake, as we all do with repairs. Test it again before you start this process. That would tell you that, okay, it's still working, laser didn't do anything. After you remove the back glass, you test it again, you see, oh, now it's not working. That tells you it wasn't the laser that did something, it was the tool you used or just the removal process of the glass. But with that being said, this is just a sample of removing the glass. Again, I'm not gonna take all this off for the sake of time today, but you get all this glass off. Now, a couple questions I typically get here is how much glue do you have to take off? So we typically recommend, let me grab a microfiber real quick, just getting the layer off that the laser burns the first time. I'll try to clean this up a little bit. So that's a good example of it. That right there, you can see that, would be okay. Again, this is another case where multiple repair shops or people who sell lasers will say one thing or another, take all the glue off or leave some of the glue on. We've had really good success with taking off just a superficial layer of glue, because once you take that off, the glass sits pretty well on the frame. Now, obviously, if you ever lay a glass on the frame that doesn't sit quite right, you got to check for around the edges or anywhere that you might have left a piece of glass. Or in that case, you might need to run the laser again to get the glue off, the excess glue off. But that's as far as getting the glue off. For putting the new glass on, two things we recommend here. One, always use the back glass with the larger camera opening. That prevents you from having to ever mess with the rear camera lens or bezel area, taking that off. That's a big pain to do. So the one with the bigger opening allows you just to sit that over it, which is the best case scenario for laying the glass on. As far as the glue goes, here you can go a couple ways too. Cold press glue, which is the original stuff on there, E8000, which is what we use, and then there's also double-sided tape alternatives. I would say each one has its benefit. Same thing here, I'm not going to bash one versus another. Cold press glue is the closest to original, but if you take it back off again, it's running the laser all over again. This doesn't provide as strong of a hold as cold press glue, but in the probably over 500-600 back glasses we've done, we've never had one come back for a warranty for lifting or any type of issue. So this works great. And the second thing, if someone does come back because they broke it again, it's a lot easier to get the back glass off using this versus using cold press glue again. And then the double-sided adhesive is probably the easiest option to use, because sometimes it comes pre-installed in the glass and you just lay it down on there. The only problem with that is it's not like the other two glue, liquid glue options where it fits in crevices and everywhere it was before. You just have a single sheet of adhesive, which may not, I guess, bond as well to the back glass frame as it should. So that being said, that's the glue we recommend. As far as cleanup goes, we have a mat like this, and we'll also use something like a paintbrush to just kind of clean everything up and just minimize the amount of mess we make on the work surface. But I'll throw that down there. And let's see, the last thing on the list I had today was actual laser engraving, like some customizing things. I'm going to do that very quickly since I estimated it's going to take about 30 minutes for the stream today, and we're about there. So what I'm going to actually do today, this right here is a MyBat Pro power bank that we sell on the website. I think it retails for $30. It's 10,000 milliamp hours, and it provides quick charging too. It has 2 outputs, 1 input for charging the bank and 2 outputs for discharge or charging your devices. I'm going to laser engrave this today, and we're actually going to give this away. So the way to win it is to mention this stream to one of our customer service or sales reps. You can do that by calling into us or just chatting on our website. You do that, just the only requirement would be to get this, obviously I'm engraving it with Happy Father's Day. You would need to place a Saturday delivery order so you receive it tomorrow. That's the only requirement there. It is a little bit more on the shipping side, but if you already had a parts order, go ahead and mention it because you're getting a free power bank. So I'm going to open this up, take it out of the package, and then let's talk about the laser engraving process. So I'm going to close this file, and I'm going to open a new one, and I'm going to do 2 things actually. I actually already made a template for this, and I saved it. So anything you do, by the way, in here, whether you're doing logos or text, you can save it just like as you would a Word file or anything else. And when you do that, it's easy to access. So say you have a template for your business cards, which you can make using this machine and little metal blanks. If anyone wants to see that, I can try to record it or maybe do a stream on it another time. Well, I don't think I can fit it in today, but right here I have the words Happy Father's Day. On this other blank file, I'm just going to open up something real quick. Let's go draw vector files. Vector files are what we do recommend using for any type of picture thing you're doing on here. It just burns better than a JPEG or a PNG, which you can use, but just a little bit different. So I have these files right here, which are from a company called Maker Union, which I think I had a tab. Here we go. So this website, if you have a laser already or are interested in getting one, sign up for this website. It's free, and what they do is give you 5 downloads a day, and all of these things, they're vector files set up to basically use on a laser machine, which work pretty well. So I'm going to do, let's just choose Lions. DXF is the type of vector file. I'm going to choose that lion through randomly and then open, and there we go. We have a big lion, which you do usually have to mess with the sizing a bit, but it's pretty user-friendly to do. Move that over here. Now, quick thing on laser engraving. Right now, if I burn this as is, it would just burn the outline. If you click on, where is it? This option right here, fill, and then make sure that cross fill button is checked and hit OK. Now it's actually going to burn the image. See the black part? It's going to burn all that, which looks better. So you know what? Actually, real quick, before I do that, power bank, I'm going to burn that logo on here just to show everyone what I'm talking about. It's already focused the phone, hit red light. So this is where that line's going to happen. And then here too in the settings, turn it up to 100. And then turn this up to 7,500. And then we're going to hit mark. And it's going to do it pretty quickly. Again, not trying to take too much time doing this, but I'm going to stop it there. So I only have it set to 1 mark, which is another thing to mention here. You can actually set the number of times you want to burn over something. Typically the way it works is the more marks, the more layers it burns off. So if you do more layers, it'll burn, it'll have more pronounced burning. But like that was just 1 burn, and there you go. There's a line on this phone now. So again, if you wanted it to stand out a little more, you could do some more laser burns. But for today, that's all I'm going to be doing. I'm going to focus to the battery pack now, since that's what I'm going to be burning next. I'm going to switch over to this right here. Now the way I made this text was pretty easy. I'll do it on this one for just a sample of one. You hit this text option over here. It shows text there. You type in what you want, so let's do this test, next, hit application, and there you have test text. You have all these different fonts to choose from, and again here, you hit this option again, this cross fill, or fill, hit OK, and then it'll actually burn in there. So let's go back to our Father's Day template I already set up. I'm going to highlight all this, hit red light. So alignment wise, I'm going to try to get it straight as possible. That looks good right there. And then hit stop, and we're going to hit mark. And just like that, any holiday that comes up, Christmas, you don't really do gifts for Thanksgiving, so that'd be weird. But like Father's Day and Mother's Day, and birthdays are great. You can do flasks, I've done lighters, knives, basically anything that's metal, plastic, that has layers in it you can do. The only one you'll find difficulty with this laser machine is glass, just because there's nothing to burn away. It's going through it versus getting a layer off of it. But anything else is great to burn. So with that being said, I'll let that run. Make sure I covered everything I had tip-wise. Someone asked recently what type of computer is needed to run this machine. It isn't very high spec. I would recommend you have at least, I don't know, a 100 gig hard drive or bigger. The software doesn't take much, but if you're going to start loading files and stuff on the computer to burn, that's what's going to take up your space. Not files for like the phones, but as far as images and vector files go. And just make sure it's running Windows. That's the important thing. It cannot run on Mac, so you don't want to buy a Mac for this because it won't work. Covered the settings, the glue. Some tools that we recommend. This is covered in another video we have, but this back glass pen is great for breaking the glass on the phone when you're trying to get the glass off around like a camera. This is a great tool. I actually did a Facebook Live on that one a month or two ago, so check that one out if you haven't already. This right here is a back glass press. So once you glue the glass on, you can put the phone in there, tighten this, and that'll get it to basically bond together better. We do it for like 10 minutes, and it ends up great, doesn't lift off or anything. What else? Tape, blade. I think that is about it. And again, if anyone has any questions related to the machine, whether you have one or don't and are looking to buy one, please reach out to our sales team, our support team. The techs have used this machine pretty extensively, so we can help out with pretty much any questions you may have. We look forward to more people getting into the back glass laser space, because we had this post about a month or two ago showing how much you could make doing back glass repair, and I think the estimate was another $120,000 a year. Once you calculate the low cost of the actual replacement glass, the labor involved, and the amount you would sell these repairs for, we recommend about $99 for the retail. You can go up or down from there, it's up to you. But at $99 price point, it does pretty well for back glass repair, especially when people are trying to trade in their phones. As long as there's no requirement by the carrier or the manufacturer that it can't not have an Apple logo, which that's a good point to bring up. The glass we sell does not have an Apple logo on it. It's copyrighted, so very bad to have anything with an Apple on it. So you can just replace it with a back glass that has nothing on it, and functionality is exactly the same. The only difference is there's no logo on it. Let's see, what else? I believe that was it. So hopefully, I don't think I mentioned this, but today we were streaming for the first time on Facebook and YouTube. Right, I think I mentioned there might have been an issue earlier. Hopefully everything worked well. If not, stay tuned for round 2 of trying this. First time trying to stream on 2 different platforms, so hopefully it worked. If not, we'll figure it out from there. But thanks everyone for tuning in today's stream. If you aren't already, or you didn't already like our Facebook page or aren't subscribed to our YouTube channel, make sure to do that, because we're going to be releasing a lot more content frequently going forward. Whether it be tech-related things, sales-related things, tools, just in general, anything that you guys have questions on, we'd like to help out when it comes to support stuff. And speaking of support, when you do buy the laser from us, which I have to talk about the selling part of the laser, because we don't do this just to help everyone out. That's obviously part of it, but we sell these lasers, we sell the fume extractors and everything go along with it. If you're looking to get into the space, just call us, reach out, and we can talk to you about it. These machines obviously come from China, and you can buy them from China. But the biggest difference we find with buying them from us or a local supplier like us is that we're going to be there for the support versus nothing bad about China, but it's a little bit delayed sometimes, and it's not as what's the best way to say involved, I guess. And also, we've gone through all the issues you may have. If you call me and say, hey, my laser's not burning, I know the 3 or 4 things that it could be, and we'll get you through all that and back up and running with your laser so you can do backlash right away. So I think that was it. I kind of rambled on for this last bit, but thanks everyone for coming in today's stream. I'm Tech Bob, and for next week's stream, I think I'm going to drop in the WoW stick that we were going to do for this time. So keep an eye out for next Friday. We'll do it then. And I'm going to end the stream now. Everyone have a great weekend and a happy Father's Day for all the dads out there. See everyone next Friday.